Now for starters, I'm sure most would agree with anyone who says, don't be like Gervonta Davis and settle for an opponent like Lamont Roach Jr. Be more like David Benavidez and step inside the ring with an opponent everyone wants to see you face, like David Morrell Jr. It's okay to do what's best for you from a business standpoint while still giving the fans what they want to see. Because at this point, Gervonta Davis versus Lamont Roach probably takes the cake for the fight that nobody wanted. Tank is now facing a lot of backlash on social media for choosing Lamont Roach, and for very good reason. One, respectfully, no one knows who Roach is. Let's be real about it, man. This guy is nowhere near a marquee name. Roach's name isn't even up to par with Frank the Ghost Martin, who was also infamous to casual fans and mainstream. So in most cases, this is bad. It's not a good look on Tank's behalf. It doesn't matter how many times Tank fanboys try to convince people that this is the move. It doesn't matter how many times motherfuckers sit around and holler, oh, you don't know about Lamont the Reaper Roach, you don't watch boxing. Not only is Lamont Roach unfamiliar, but he's not even a legit 135-pound fighter, dog. He is moving up from 130 for this fight with Tank, and if there's one thing a Gervonta Davis hater or non-believer will hang on to, it's most definitely that. Now, to be fair to Davis, his intentions were to face Vasily Lomachenko, who didn't hesitate to turn the fight down and who is now supposedly contemplating retirement. And Shakur Stevenson signing the Matchroom announcing that Cordina and Cepeda would be his next two fights before his freak accident was pretty self-explanatory to anyone who doesn't have their head up their ass. So gotta give Tank an A for effort when it comes to actually trying to negotiate and deliver the boxing world a blockbuster. That can't be overlooked, and to Gervonta's credit, he also left the door open for a rematch with Pitbull Cruz until he suffered a loss against Jose Rayo, leaving most spectators optimistic that Rayo punched his ticket to a bout with Tank. It only took about a month and a half later for us to find out that wasn't the case, with Robert Garcia claiming that Team Davis offered Rayo to fight at 135, pretty much implying that Rayo turned down the fight since he fights at 140. Which brings us all the way here to Lamont Roach and just why Tank would choose Roach as his next opponent. As mind-blowing and generic as this bout may come across, it's staring us right in the eye, bruh. Lamont Roach, who was born in Washington, D.C., grew up in Maryland, Upper Marlboro, Maryland to be exact. And where is Gervonta Davis from? Baltimore. That's right, Baltimore, Maryland. Not only are they both Maryland natives, but Tank also faced Lamont Roach twice in the amateurs, giving him 2 losses. Meaning, this fight won't be the first encounter between the two fighters, but they may also share a bit of history outside of that, and I'm sure we will hear all about it during the build-up to the fight. Now, there's no indication if there's any bad blood between the two, but given the shared history, this may be personal, which is why we already seen them sarcastically having a back and forth on Twitter X. Yes, they have to build up some controversy from now to then, but it's pretty evident that since Tank is already the attraction, all they needed was a story that could sell the fight, and since everyone's a sucker for an underdog story, Lamont Roach Jr. is clearly the perfect candidate. Add that in with the fact that, like Frank the Ghost Martin, Tank will come with all the theatrics the way he did with the whole Ghostbusters get-up. With a name like Reaper, Roach, it's not hard to see where this is headed, man. So if you call it a cherry, you're right. If you call it a stay busy fight, you're probably right. And you also wouldn't be wrong if you assumed it was Tank doing a favor for an old friend, if you know what I mean. One thing's for sure, if you agree with Paulie Malignaggi and don't believe this fight is pay-per-view worthy, you're absolutely correct. Shit, I could have even made a bold prediction saying that this fight barely breaks 200K. However, this is business, and with business comes strategy, like the one we saw in Tank's last fight with Frank the Ghost Martin. Because it's now being reported by Michael Benson that Tank and Lamont Roach Jr. has been added to the Morrell Benavidez card. It's safe to say Tank will be co-main eventing, and I say that because after the fight against Frank the Ghost Martin, Tank said he had no problem taking the backseat to Benavidez. Also, Benavidez versus Morrell's the fight everyone wanted to see. That's the fight the fans were asking for, so they deserve to be the main event and headline it, regardless. They're saying that the reason the fight was postponed is because supposedly they're having problems with the location and venue over in Texas. But I'm not buying that. See, I believe, in my opinion, PBC got greedy. They tried to divide the gate so they could accumulate more money, and they tried to milk the fans with the Lamont Roach shit. But that wasn't well received by the public, and they're afraid of it flopping. This is why they made this move, which is a smart move, especially when you have Jamal Charlo, who's supposed to be on the same card as well. That just makes for a bigger atmosphere. So they couldn't go wrong. That's if this is the truth and if it's confirmed by PBC. Pop off.